Get paid to drive. Start a new career behind the wheel at the EMTA. If you are looking for a high-paying and rewarding career with full benefits and paid training, stop by or apply online today with the EMTA. Plus, EMTA riders can now enjoy free Wi-Fi on new, clean, and environmentally friendly buses to travel all over Erie County. Visit ridethee.com for more information.
Get on board EMTA. Get on board EMTA. Get
Quickfill gasoline is made right here in America. United Refining Company, who operates Quickfill, refines its gasoline from North American crude oil in Warren, Pennsylvania. When you buy United Refining Company gasoline at Quickfill, you keep jobs and businesses in America, and you keep American families strong. You don't need to send your money overseas when you buy gasoline. Buy American-made gasoline at Quickfill. Quickfill, driving America.
Welcome to TalkErie.com's Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast. Every day, we tackle the biggest issues that the Erie PA region faces. Stay informed and involved as we advance the narrative of Erie. Now, here's Joel Natale.
We want to welcome in to our studio here Brian Marshall. He is a virtual CIO at VNET. They're getting ready for their tech summit on Thursday. Brian, welcome to the show. Appreciate it, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me.
We're a family show. We like to hear origin stories. You're an Erie kid, aren't you?
I am. I grew up in Harbor Creek, born and raised, still live in Harbor Creek to this day. I'm actually on the zoning hearing board out there. And so I've been in Harbor Creek my entire life. So that's where I came from. I went to Mercyhurst. That was sort of my path. And then after Mercyhurst, I went to a company in Harbor Creek, worked there for 10 years, and made my way over to Joel and VNET 18 years ago. And I've been with VNET ever since.
So when you went to Mercyhurst, what was your degree in? Did they have things like cybersecurity back in the day?
So not at all. And I was supposed to be a physics teacher when I was all done.
Okay.
And I did that student teaching, and I met those kids, and I thought, boy, it takes a special person to be a teacher. I'm so lucky my wife's a teacher, and she's phenomenal at it. The idea that I could not reach every kid really drove me bananas, and I was pretty good at computers. Yeah. So because I did physics, et cetera, the computers came easy to me, and it was something I just sort of fell into, and then I fell in love with it, and I have been doing it ever since. Wow. Do you still teach like at all, or some college students or whatever? I'm always teaching. Right?
Okay.
So in what I do, well, this is sort of off topic, but kind of awesome. Like, one of my superpowers, as I call it, is the ability to take a complex topic like cybersecurity and make it easy for a business owner or somebody who is a smart person but maybe not savvy in that area. Mm-hmm. And that's sort of the teaching. That teaching background makes it easy for me to be able to present the ideas and frame it in a way that makes sense to them so that they internalize it and then go forward and make good decisions for their business.
So would you say if somebody kind of were, let's say they grew up in the 90s and they were tinkering around with the early days of the internet, would you say that if they stop there with their knowledge base, that it's totally different in 2025? Yeah,
it's not at all the same. So that's where I grew up. Like when I was at Mercyhurst, we brought the internet to the students. Like one of my first jobs when I was a student there, also working on their help desk, because the teachers had it, but no students had it. Like this is before students had internet in their dorms. I know we've got an intern in the room. It's hard to believe that was a thing. Like that really was a thing, that people didn't have the internet. You couldn't just go to Google and ask it a question, right? This was a time. So if you stopped there with your knowledge, it changes all of the time. And parlaying into this business of cybersecurity, like we never talked about it. It wasn't a thing. The idea of doing bad things wasn't there yet. So the internet was a cool, free place that you could do stuff. And then over time, the bad actors figured out, oh, this is a nice conduit back into where I can cause trouble. And here we are today.
Yeah, when you think about, people getting started in AOL and going into a chat room and maybe meeting someone or, learning more about whatever, interests, they're into locomotives, O-gauge, miniature trains, or whatever you wanted to do, you can learn that stuff back then. But now it's almost like you're in a situation where you're going into a bad part of town half the time.
I'd say way more than half. right? I think that 90% of what's out there is either made up or not real. So being a savvy user of the internet has never been more important than it is now. Like that's a thing that's real for sure.
Let's start with the origin story of the VNet Tech Summit. I think last year they called it the Security Conference or something like that. Talk about the start of this and where it's growing to today.
Sure. I think this is our 5th or 6th year in a row of doing this. And so it started with sort of Joel decided that Joel Duderman, owner of VNet, decided that it would be a really great idea if we brought our expertise into sort of a conference type scenario. So at VNet, we're very blessed. We send our employees out to ongoing training, and they go to conferences all over the country. So things like this aren't unusual nationally and globally, but they're unheard of in Erie, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So we decided to put the first one on here, and we did. And we had a couple of vendors there, and we had a few 30 or 40 people at it, and it started to grow a little bit, and little by little it became more and more and more, and now we're in that 300 to 400 people showing up at this event. I've got vendors from all over, and then when I say vendors, they're partners of mine. So people that VNet partner with to bring security services, et cetera, to our region. We've got these experts, CEOs or engineers from their companies coming to us to present on their applications and talk about the landscape and sort of make it easier for people to consume. And then this year we doubled down and decided to get an awesome keynote speaker. So for the end of this thing, we've got Jen Easterly coming. That is an enormous get. It probably doesn't mean a lot to the people sitting in this room, and that's okay unless you read the press release of what's going on.
Well, I've heard of CISA.
Yeah. Okay. So exactly. So you know that exists, and you know that she headed it up. Yes. And when you know that, and you know that she's wandering around, overseeing 10,000 people trying to protect our local government, they're all not local, but national government interests, a $3 billion agency. She's a big deal. She's also very cool because she's done tours. She's been all over. So to get her is a big deal for Erie. I mean, I have seen her before at national conferences that have 5,000 or 6,000 people at them.
Wow.
So
what is CISA? To renew
the cybersecurity infrastructure security. I mean, basically, they're in charge of the critical infrastructure for the country to make sure that they basically put out the guidelines and tell everyone this is what you should be doing to protect, in the case of the government, all of our national interests and all of our, assets.
So Department of Defense has to listen to her, Department of Treasury.
They're taking guidance from there, right? Okay. Each one of those departments will do their own thing, but this is trying to bring it all together to say, what are our best practices? What are the things that we should be doing to make sure that we're protected from a nation state, right? And then in the private world, we take from that lead and say, okay, what of that can we apply to, your big, giant Fortune 500 companies all the way down to your potato stand, right? Everybody has to take some level of that. Now, would I expect somebody that owns a pizza shop to have the same securities in place that they have at the Mint? Probably not, right? That would feel a little ridiculous, and we'd be paying like $11,000 for a piece of pizza. Right. So it doesn't seem sustainable. At the same time, we can take those same principles, use somebody like a VNet that can buy in bulk and bring those same kind of technologies and best practices to push down to that business.
But nothing is foolproof, right, Brian?
No.
This is all like playing defense. It's driving defensively kind of thing, huh?
So there's one surefire way to never get infected. Is what you do is you unplug all the computers and fire all the people. Because I've never had a computer that is sitting unplugged that nobody's touching have a problem. Short of that, if you're not just going to buy computers, stick them in a closet and never plug them in, you're always on the defensive. It's not a question of if, it's a question of when. So when that attack happens to you, how ready are you for it, and what kind of defenses do you have in play? I have some phenomenal stories about, big companies being attacked and going down, in companies that I protect that are attached to them sort of ancillarily through VPNs. A lot of terms we don't really need to know, but just know that that company had access into their systems. Yeah. My systems detected that attack, shut down the attack vector. My customer was down for about 5 minutes. The national company didn't pay their people for 6 weeks, right? And it's not to say we were better than that. It's that because this big attack was happening, having the right things in place make you able to protect against the bad things from happening. You want to be sure that you're in this, I call it the belt and suspenders model, right? Everything we do at VNet when it comes to protecting you is belt and suspenders. We never want to be caught with our pants down. There's going to be a time when something bad's going to happen. Can we mitigate how bad that thing is? That's really what you're playing towards. If you think, I want to play to when we're never going to get compromised, that's a foolish game, right? That's like saying I'm going to go play golf and always get a hole-in-one. Like, it's never going to happen. You're trying for a hole-in-one every time, but if we could really get rid of the double bogeys or the triple bogeys, that's really, we're in pretty good shape. If we could shoot par golf all the time, everyone around this table would be pretty happy about that.
Sure.
We're shooting for that when we're doing our cybersecurity plan. You can't shoot for perfect. You got to shoot for what's reasonable, sustainable for your budget and for the landscape.
It always occurs to the layperson, though, of like, I don't know if it was American Airlines or what airline it was. Maybe it was Southwest that had a total meltdown, and like you say, couldn't pay people, couldn't book a flight, couldn't figure out what to do with luggage, and you wonder how can there be no redundancies to be able to have those complicated systems work?
So you think about it, you could have redundancies, but what if the redundancy gets compromised too, right? So it's sometimes we don't know what we don't know until we're in that situation. Oftentimes with larger companies, I point to mergers. When you have mergers and acquisitions happening, you're often bolting things on. And so you've got this thing that's kind of grown and it's tough to get your arms around. Even giant companies have budget constraints to being able to work through it. In a perfect world, we'd say, okay, we're going to do this merger. We're not going to do anything for 6 months while we figure out and make sure everything's perfect. Yeah. How do you do that? Well, in the middle of that transition, that's when you're definitely the most vulnerable. Again, we need to have things in place to make sure we're good.
Wow. That's astounding. We're talking to Brian Marshall here. Before every break, I want to make sure people understand how they can register because how to do that.
If you go to vnetsummit.com, it'll take you right to the page. It'll tell you all about the summit. There's a sign up link there. Okay, if you want to go sign up, there are still tickets available. They are limited, so you want to go quickly because come Monday we're going to have to turn that link off because we're filling up the room fast. When people realized what a big ticket item this is, people are coming rushing in.
Brian, let's get to some of these topics and what folks can expect at the VNet Tech Summit, which is happening this Thursday, July 10th here.
Yeah, so we start off with a nice little breakfast, right, and a chance to talk to other people in the industry. So the vendors will all be there. Vendor tables are set up. So at breakfast, you can sort of chat and talk to people and get to know your colleagues and what's going on. We transition that right into an opening talk. I think the opening talk this year is going to be focusing around sort of these email compromises that have been going on, something that's it's for everyone, right? Everyone should know about this and sort of this attack vector and what's happening. Then we're going to roll into a discussion with Erie Bank and Hilling Pfeffer Insurance. So I'm going to have them up on the stage. We're going to do a little roundtable with them. It'll be an opportunity to ask them questions about what the banking industry and in the insurance, specifically cyber liability insurance, what does that mean to these people in the audience, and what should they be doing to, one, protect their money, and two, protect their businesses from an insurance standpoint. That's a session that everybody wants to do, so that's on the main stage. Then we go into some breakout sessions, so you'll have options as you go down. So if you're more hardware-minded, we've got some hardware tracks where you can learn about some new stuff that's coming up in Wi-Fi and some things that are happening in switching and sonic walls and those kind of things to try to protect you. But then we also have the software side of things for if you want to learn about how do we train our employees and do constant contact with them to make sure that they're being trained, or we want to learn about browser plugins. We've got stuff on backups, we've got stuff on protection. So it flows on both sides. So depending on if you're super technical or if you're a business owner, there's tracks for both ways. We don't force you to go to either one, so you can visit the rooms as they see fit. There's always the the vendors who aren't presenting at the time are at their booth, so that you've got opportunities to speak with them. Hey, I've heard about Proofpoint before. Could you explain to me a little better about? Now we got a Proofpoint expert there that can explain that to you. The Sonic Wall expert's there. The Autocom expert is there. The Huntress expert is there. Like, we have the experts in the field in the room, so you can ask that question that's been keeping you up at night. You can actually get to the people that write these softwares and can invoke change.
And then the keynote is in later on then?
So that's a 3. Yeah, so there's a lunch in there too. We feature.
Okay.
Listen, we're in IT. There's always food.
There's always
right?
food, right.
Megan tells me there'll be cookies at some point too, so there'll be some cookies floating around. So there's always an opportunity to eat. I kind of glossed over. Right after lunch, we'll pop back in, and Matt Lee. So if you look him up online, he's Cyber Matt Lee. He is a huge get. Giant beard, super awesome dude. His podcast is huge. That guy, we've now had him. This is his 3rd year in a row that he's done our conference. He is very difficult to get, but he likes Erie so much and likes what we do here, and we make sure that we take care of him down on the Bayfront, and he gets to enjoy the nice summer here. Matt and his wife will be stopping in, but he will put on a talk that is you cannot miss. Like, he keeps it light, he keeps it entertaining, but he gets right to the point. He's one of those black hat guys that will go in and hack your computer. Like, he works with those groups to make sure that you're being tested and understands what it's going to take to stay compliant and make yourself protected. Then we roll into a couple more of those breakout sessions, and it kind of finishes off with Jen. She'll be doing her talk, and she's not going to do a speech. She said, I really don't love doing speeches. She'll introduce herself. She'll do a couple of minutes, and she's going to sit down on the stage. I've got some questions to ask her, and then we're going to open up to the audience. You have the opportunity to ask her anything you want to ask. If you want to know about national security when it comes to cybersecurity, her tours in the different wars or whatever, I mean, she's there. So she'll be easy to talk to.
It's probably important for those that are considering making the investment to come, and again, for some of our listeners, the investment of time is a bigger deal than the investment of cost. Who do you, when you think about the types of people listening to talk radio, who should be coming to this event?
So this should be that business leader, that owner, or they're sending somebody. I'm going to be honest with you. It's almost always somebody in accounting. It's the weirdest thing that IT always seems to roll out to accounting because they think of it as like a cost center. So, you know how to use QuickBooks. You must be good at computers. So now you're in charge of computers. So that guy or gal should come, or the person they trust most when it comes to this, because they're going to learn things that they're going to want to bring back to their company to be able to protect them. So I'd love to have every business owner there to absorb this and sort of understand the gravity of it all. But if you had to pick one or the other, I would pick the person that can invoke the most change when it comes to our cybersecurity posture within our business. Yeah,
it almost feels like you need somebody at an upper level that would be able to say, you know what, this is going to cost us $5,000, but we've got to do it.
But now I know why we have to do it, right? It's going to cost me way more not to do it when the bad things happen, right? This isn't throwing money at a problem that probably won't happen. You mentioned, bigger companies that it happens to. If it happened to them, imagine what could happen to you.
Yeah, I mean, if you're in finance or, again, some of these things that we've been seeing on the news, they're constantly under attack.
Always under attack, and there's a new attack vector out there where the bad guys are sending you good emails, but they're good emails you don't want. So they're not really spam. So I would send you 50 emails in a row, then call you on the phone saying, hey, this is the help desk. You just got a bunch of spam. Do you want me to help you with that? And you're like, oh, thank God. And then you let them on your computer, and then they take your whole network down.
Oh, my Lord.
We have protections in place to stop that from happening. And that's what you learn about at this summit is how can you make sure that doesn't happen to you?
Just total rabbit trail, but how would like your function as a virtual CIO, how does that even work? I mean, are you basically setting up the protocols within my little network at my
Yes.
I don't know, car dealer or whatever.
Car dealer's a great example.
Yeah.
We've got lots of those. So what we're doing is we're helping you, one, meet your standards. So we're getting you the right softwares in place so you've got protections. We've got things that are watching all the time. So when somebody starts doing something they shouldn't be doing, we can alert you to that, and we can cut it off
even that ransomware type of email.
That exact scenario that happened. about 40 seconds after you let the bad actor onto your computer, my software sees, something is weird, and it turns the computer off, and it sends a note to me so that we can tell you what's going. I'm not waiting for you to tell me, I made a mistake. I'm getting in front of that. Huge thing is identity theft. And you think of identity theft as like somebody stole my social security number. That's a thing. That's also important. Don't let your identity be stolen. But when it comes to your online identity, that identity we're talking about is when you log into Microsoft Office 365 and use your two-factor authentication because they told me to do that and I'm a good little soldier and I do that. If you click the wrong button when you get the right kind of email, somebody can do what's called an identity swap, and they can steal your identity online, and they're now acting as you. I have softwares in place that watch for that to happen and say, well, wait a minute, Joel was in Erie and now he's in France. That seems impossible. Let me shut this down until we figure out what's going on. We don't think he's on the Concorde, right?
Oh my gosh.
We're proactively making sure those kind of things don't happen to you, because when they happen, they are catastrophic.
Yeah.
They are the amount of time and money that a company loses when something happens it's I think it's the third largest economy in the world is the cybercrime, is the latest thing.
Good Lord.
There's the US, and then there's the next, and then there's cybercrime. That's the third largest economy in the world.
It's amazing how fast it goes, because you mentioned two-factor authentication, which some people are just getting caught up to, but it's already on its way out. As what is it now? Passkey that they want you to do?
So you're going to use passkeys and passphrases. You're going to be doing, one-time passwords and things that happen instantaneously. There's all kinds of things that we want to do to make sure that you are who you say you are.
You have been called
to do good,
to feed the hungry,
to love with action,
to be a light in the darkness,
to love your neighbor,
to teach wisdom,
to walk humbly,
to love mercy,
to care for the least of these.
Will you accept the call?
This is our city.
Our mission.
Visit eriecitymission.org/volunteer to accept the call today.
All year round, Frontier Home Products and Design has what you need to make your home comfortable and beautiful. Relax on a new timber tech deck designed by Frontier's experts. A new fireplace from Frontier Home Products Fireplace Gallery adds warmth and serenity to any home. Beauty and versatility at Frontier Home Products and Design Center, 4213 Peachtree, 5th next to the Bayfront Highway.
Frontier Home Products and Design Center. Discover a new frontier.
PA contractor number PA039007.
Brian, I think if you could put those headsets on, we're going to take a phone call or two here. Hi, you are live. Hello, you are live with Brian Marshall here on Talk Erie. Go ahead.
Brian, I am just a common John Q. public. I have pit stop virus protection, and I have T-Mobile internet, wireless internet service, and my IP address comes out of Ohio. And as a result of that, I am unable to get the Pittsburgh Pirates Sportsnet Pittsburgh, because their contract with Major League Baseball requires that IP address be in the Pittsburgh Pirates local area. In other words, it has to be in Pennsylvania. Is there anything I can do?
You could probably sign up for a VPN service that runs solely out of Pennsylvania. I don't have one personally, but I'm certain that there's a VPN that runs out of Pennsylvania. You could try to do that. The other thing you might be able to do is talk to T-Mobile and see if they can. They definitely have IPs in Pennsylvania.
I have talked to T-Mobile. There's nothing they can do. In fact, when I'm surfing the internet, I get ads from Cleveland, Ohio. I get all my ads. And the other thing is, am I safe with your standard pit stop virus protection, or should I be doing something else?
So virus protection is great. That's always good. Step one. Step two is making sure we're making good decisions when we're on the internet.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell a really quick story that this is how I bring it together.
All right, Brian, maybe if you can comment by making a real smart things while you're on the internet. There's programs out there like Pegasus that I'm aware of, and there's not much you can do.
Yeah. I'm going to let him tell that story. Thanks for the call. Appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Yeah, tell that story.
Yeah. So when I talk about being good and being smart, 100% of the time when I go into my garage and I pull my wife's car out and I get the ladder and go up to get the cooler, I'm undefeated. But when I decide to walk into the garage, put one foot on the fender, one foot on the bike and try to reach it, 50-50 chance whether I fall down. When we make hasty and poor decisions online, that's when bad things happen. So I always tell people, take a minute, take a breath, and stop. You get an email that says you have to do something right now. Hold on. There's a sense of urgency. That's a red flag for me. I'm going to take a breath. Don't panic. Don't just start clicking. If you know something doesn't seem right, don't do that thing. It's amazing to me the number of people that will call my help desk saying, I just clicked this thing and I know it's a problem. I'd really rather they were like, you know what, I didn't click that thing. Give me a high five because I didn't do that because they took that second. Busy people make mistakes. I always tell this little joke that when I'm doing my cyber awareness training for people, if you're bored at work and you just put your feet up all day, you're probably not going to fall victim to the attack because you have plenty of time to do this. But if the phone is ringing off the hook, you got 10 callers trying to call in, you're trying to do this and that, and an email comes through saying you've got to do this in the next 5 minutes or you're going to lose access, that's when you're likely to become vulnerable. You need to take a second. You need to take a breath. You need to make good decisions.
What about these... these spam filters and things. Again, you talk about what is it? Vectors, right?
Yeah, attack vectors.
Attack
right?
vectors, and certainly email
is a huge one.
Right.
So you've got your email vector, you've got your pop-ups when you're online, right? So let's go to that spam filter. I think spam filters are very important. I think they're a must-have for your business. If you're a home user, you're probably using a Gmail or something like that. They generally have spam filters built into them. But just because something makes it through the spam filter doesn't mean you have to do anything about it. People always ask me, I think I got a spam email. What should I do? And I say, delete it. Well, what if it turns out I needed it? They can resend it. You can send an email around the world in like a half a second. So if for some reason that email was so important, the person will just resend it to you and it'll be fine.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I wrote down that so many...
Right. Somebody has to be watching the house and making sure it's going on. Just having an alarm that's going off and nobody's paying attention to the fact that it's happening, that's going to be bad news to everybody. Because nothing worse than me logging onto a Sonic wall, seeing 10,000 things that have been happening for the last 4 months, but nobody's looking at those logs. So the Sonic wall's been telling you, but you haven't been listening.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, scary, right?
That is. I want you to be scarier now because, again, I feel like Erie's economy is dependent upon clean, strong cybersecurity for our businesses. We're a community of small business. We have a few big businesses, and of course they need to do their due diligence. But most of us, you do 10,000 a year or 10 million a year in sales. You got 50 employees. You got that amazing tool and die shop. You want to go on your bass boat, and go fishing. You're not thinking about cyber, so. Tell that CEO or that second generation family business owner why this is important, why this tech summit's important there.
So you'll get equipped with the tools and the knowledge of how, the when, not the if, something is going to happen to your business. When it happens, will you be prepared? So those 50 people in your $10 million shop, their entire livelihood relies on you being open and working. What would it mean if you were down for a week or 2 weeks or heaven forbid 6 weeks while you were trying to recover from a cyber attack? That tool and die shop 20 years ago didn't even have a computer. Everything was fine. But seriously, cybersecurity would mean nothing to them. Who cares?
You were more worried about somebody stealing your tools.
Yes, you absolutely. Now, the likelihood that somebody comes walking in the front door is way less than the Russians come wandering in across the internet and cause you all this trouble. Yeah. And that guy that I'm talking to who's in his 90s, because now we're to the 3rd generation or 7th generation for some of these awesome Erie companies, they're saying, man, that stupid grandson made me get the internet, and now I've got this problem, but it came. At the same time, to keep up with business, We are constantly having to do more with less. We do that through automation. We do that through technology. Like when I say more with less, like we don't have the same number of people to work in these spots. So if that person's going to be able to do 20 times what the person did before them, the machine they're running has to be better. The technology around that, the automation, all has to be better. Because of that, it's more interconnected. As soon as it becomes connected, it becomes vulnerable. Once it's vulnerable, that's the thing I have to be worried about. Because if that machine is down, I'm not making parts. If I'm not making parts, I'm not getting paid. If I'm not getting paid, I can't pay my employees. It's just that simple.
It's just so fundamental. The talk about as far as getting people to think about the vulnerabilities in their building. Do you guys, like when they hire you, do you do like a risk assessment?
We absolutely do a risk assessment. We will walk them around, show them what's going on. One of the things I want to just slam into your question here is one of the goals of this summit is to normalize the discussion of cybersecurity like we already normalized the discussion of safety. When you talk about, if you work in manufacturing, the yellow lines are important. Everyone talks about safety. There's posters everywhere. Have a safe day. That is a thing.
The lockouts of the electrical
everything
thing,
is done because people died, right? And OSHA came in. Like, there's reasons that we got to this place. We as humans have to get burned before bad things happen. Matt Lee tells a great story about the car. We had cars a long time before we had seatbelts, right? We've had computers for a long time before we had cybersecurity to go along with them. Like, we had the internet way before we decided to put guardrails on that thing. People drove around. I think I came home from the hospital in a box sitting on the dash of the car, right? There wasn't a car seat.
The car
I was
bed.
in a cardboard box that came home, right? That's really a thing. Wow. So we need to normalize the discussion of cybersecurity just being part of our everyday behavior. Once that becomes normal, it won't seem so ridiculous that I have to take the cybersecurity awareness training, or I have to do this little thing, or I can't believe they make me have to read this or do that. It's just going to become part of normal operating. I wish it wasn't. Yeah. I wish we could just make all the bad guys go away, but that's not going to happen. So now we have to be safe that way. We had doors long before we had locks. Right? Mm-hmm. But when people started walking into our houses, we started putting locks on them, right? We've got to do the same thing with our computer systems, and we've got to understand we can't just go to the store. As a business owner, I can't just spend $20,000 outfitting my entire place with all these new machines. And while I bought them, they should just work. Yeah, they're going to work until the bad guys get on them.
Let's grab another phone call here. Hi, you're live with our guest from VNET, Brian. Go ahead, sir.
So, the issue that we will be talking about cybersecurity and normalizing it, I'm a bit the opposite take on that. I mean, suppose we have the technology to track people down there putting all this bad malware out there, but there's nothing to dissuade them from doing that. I'd rather put all our efforts into finding them, dissuading them, making them think 4 times before doing it.
Yeah. I it's kind of a bad connection. I'm going to let him respond. Thanks for the call.
Yeah, I understand exactly where he's coming from. Wouldn't it be nice if we could make the bad guys all just stop? The problem is we're not going to. Like that's great. I could go on an entire rant about cryptocurrency and how I think it started all of this mess because we gave the bad guys a way to be able to transfer monies, and I'll get destroyed by your callers coming in telling me why cryptocurrency is awesome. But I have my own personal thoughts on all those things. The fact is that bad things are happening. We have to protect ourselves against those bad things from happening. I am fully on board with us making sure that we work with law enforcement and letting them know when bad things happen. I talk to the FBI on a very regular basis when I see things that are happening or they, we're in constant contact to be able to try to get that, because it's never happening in the United States. It's always happening on foreign soil, and that's very difficult to, get things handled. We want to keep going after it. And every time we take down 3, 7 more pop up.
Right.
They're always just a little ahead of the curve.
All you have to do is watch the YouTubes of the guys that attack the spammers and try, they'll take over their closed circuit television, and goof around with them because they're trying to sell some old lady some Norton, enterprise system that she doesn't need, right?
Yeah, that's
just
Matt Roper.
Steal.
It's awesome to watch him do it, and it's cool when he takes one down. The problem is the studies say every time one of those goes down, 3 more come up.
I got a question for you. Why is it that the default for most people is to trust what they see on their cell phones in that text or on their emails, or trust what they're seeing in front of them on the screen?
I don't know why psychologically we are so attached to the phones. We can probably blame Facebook and whatever for making us addicted to them, and now we love them and we can't put them down. They are sort of an appendage that's attached to us. It's text messaging is the new frontier for me being able to, if I wanted to infiltrate a young person, I would do it through text. I absolutely would, because we've become so enamored with it, and it's become so personal and so there.
I mean, I have so many tolls that I didn't pay on the turnpike that I've never driven on.
Yes, exactly. So understanding that and being able to just ignore it, but we see that little mark and we see the one and we want to look at it and we want to see it and we want to respond. Also, I told this story on the news a couple of different times. Politeness is also a trap. And I feel like I'm a very polite person. My parents tried to raise all of us great. So somebody sends you a message and it's to the wrong person. They're fishing for you. My reaction would be, I'm so sorry, you have the wrong number. This is, but if you do that, you tell them you're alive and now you're there and now you're a target. You just have to ignore it. It's against everything that I have to ignore that text message, not because I want to respond to it, because I want to make sure that if you're really looking for your grandma and that really was for your grandma, that you'd get there. The problem is it's probably not. It's probably a bad person pretending like they're trying to get to their grandma, trying to play on some heartstrings. Then you're going to engage. They're going to be very convincing. And if they get the wrong person on there, next thing you know, you're wiring the money that you don't have.
Yeah, you're going and buying
gift cards and
Bitcoin and oh my gosh. Tell me about AI and cybersecurity. I'm sure there's pluses and minuses.
So AI is awesome is awesome on the defense of cybersecurity, and it stinks because the bad guys are using it too, right? So now we've got AI fighting AI. So the battle of the robots or whatever it is, the artificial intelligence is going at it. We have to be. A human can't keep up with what's going on. So we have to leverage AI to be able to see this and understand behaviors, et cetera. Like the AI is going to be crucial to the fight in this fight. Unfortunately, as soon as we develop a technology that's great that we can be used for good, somebody figures out how to use it for bad, then we've got to develop a new one for good to then go into the bad. And that's, I think it's been
and
that
that's
way.
all humans that will have to do that.
Yeah,
too.
it's going to be humans that have to make that. And I don't think the AI is going to make the AI, right? We're going to need somebody to figure out the next step. This has been happening since the beginning of time. We invented the wheel, and then somebody used it to run somebody over, right? Like every time we make an invention, somebody figures out a bad thing to do with it. Like you made that whatever to go hunt, and now we used it to do something bad to another person. Like every time we've made a technological advance in our lives, the bad people will determine how to use that in a bad way. AI is no different.
Wow. We're talking to Brian Marshall. We're kind of bringing this plane in for a landing. Let's get back to the VNet Tech Summit. Again, probably you're going to, if you're hearing this, it's after hours, but you could still sign up right now online, right?
You're good till Monday. I'm going to tell you come Monday. So we're not working tomorrow, so I'm going to leave it open. So if people sign up on the 4th, we'll have to figure out where to sit them. So this is good news for you if you've waited to the last minute to get in. But come Monday, I think I'm going to have to take that registration page down because we are busting at the seams, and for very good reason. With that said, VNet believes in Erie. And as you know, VNet is a strong supporter in Erie. We bring this summit to Erie to put Erie on the national map, with somebody like Jen coming, et cetera. But we're doing it for those business owners in this town because as Erie succeeds, we all succeed.
Right.
There is no room, we don't have competitors in Erie. We're all together to keep the ball rolling. Our competition is outside of this region, right? We in this region want everyone to do well. We want everyone to excel. When one person has a cyber attack and it takes them down, they could be the supplier to another person that touches another person. Our ecosystem is so tightly wound here. It is so important that we protect that. VNet wants to be sure that we're on the cutting edge of making sure that we're technologically advanced. So when these students graduate from a Gannon or from a Mercyhurst or from a Penn State, that they'll stick around and say, you know what, Erie's a great place to live. I love the water. It's beautiful outside today.
Yeah.
Right? It's gorgeous. I want to stay because I can get my technology itch scratched here. And, you know, with our fiber and all those things, like that's all baked into our vision. This cybersecurity summit is just a piece along that journey to make sure Erie is leading the way.
Yeah, you guys really feel we're a rising tech hub, huh?
I really do. I mean, who else has this kind of access to this kind of internet? There are many places that don't have what we have here, and we're growing it every day to make sure that they've got access. Access is important. Talent is the next most important thing. If you don't have the infrastructure, the talent's not going to stay. So you got to build the infrastructure, you got to stay clean, and now you can start getting the talent to follow behind it.
The website to sign up for the summit?
VNetSummit.com.
That is fantastic. Again, a fast hour. Brian Marshall, he is a virtual CIO at VNet, and of course you'll be having a great time at the VNet Tech Summit this Thursday at the Bayfront Convention Center.
At the Convention Center, yep. I look forward to seeing everybody there. Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to The Joel Natale Show, Erie, Pennsylvania's daily podcast from TalkErie.com. Subscribe to our show on your favorite podcatcher and get involved by emailing joel@TalkErie.com.